All right, what's up, everybody? This is Will D822. This is my inaugural YouTube content creation video. As some of you may know, I started streaming on Twitch recently. And so the other night in the Great League Sunshine Cup, I had went on a 19-0 run with a specific team. And I actually wasn't expecting to go on this crazy of a run. It's an interlude season. You max out at rank 20. I've been trying to have fun. But I tried out a team. I explained the logic behind it. So it's Furret, Claydol, and Oranguru. And logic behind it. So Furret, who I've always been a big fan of. Furret hates fighters and it hates like Blaziken. So I wanted my backline to be able to handle that. Hence the Claydol and Oranguru. And I also go Brick Break on my Furret instead of Trailblaze, and I'll be explaining quite a bit during the course of the video, and you'll actually see that the Brick Break actually saves me in quite a number of battles here. But let's get the battles started. First match, I have Furret into Gligar. This is pretty neutral, but my black line hates Gligar, so it's definitely good to see it here. Throw the Swift off. I know they have Dig, but it's a regular Gligar, so I can survive it pretty easily. I get that next Swift off. I think here what I'm going to try to do is not shield and hope that my backline can handle their backline, given that I had the hardest answer out of the way. Yep, so I come in Oranguru, get a couple confusions off. That's Swampert. So what I did, I actually anticipated that they were going to try to catch a Trailblaze on something that resists it. So that's why I threw an extra confusion. And it actually worked out perfectly here because they have Gourgeist, which that's another thing that Claydol hates. So I throw the Brutal Swing, see what they do. They let it go. Now, the reason I threw a Brutal Swing here and not build up to the Trailblaze, because if I had thrown an extra confusion, then they would have been able to get a Hydro Cannon off on me first. So what I'm going to do here is get the Brutal Swing, get a shield, and try to Mud Slap, fast move pressure down for the win. I throw the Rock Tomb because I know they will be able to get a Hydro Cannon off, but at least at this point I can debuff it. One more Mud Slap for the win. Okay, that's the very start. We are 1-0. Next one, Furret into Cacturn. So this is an awful lead. Like, I could not ask for a worse lead than this. But essentially, I have to stay in because my back line hates this. So what I'm going to do here, just shield through it, Brick Break, get their defense down, and just hope for the best. Brick Break. Okay, so they do shield that. All I can do here is just try to Mud Slap them down and hope for the best with my back line. All right, so they bring in a Swampert. I pivot out to Oranguru, and they bring in a Skeletor's. So my Brutal Swings would also fortunately threaten the Skeletor's. This is one of the early battles where I feel like I was fortunate with their backline. Here I throw another Confusion. I have the Trailblaze loaded, and we are good. All right, there, I Mud Slap down, because I know I can get the next charge move off before they get a move off. And we are 2-0. All right, next battle. Furret into Giraffe. This is a good lead. All right, so opponent answers Talon. I really don't have a true hard answer to Talon with this team. So here, I'm just going to throw a Swift off, catch the move on Oranguru. I'm going to try to go for a Confusion down if possible. Yep, Confusion down. Shield this, get another Confusion off before the next Incinerate registers. So here, they come in Ferrothorn. This is also kind of another awkward situation for me. I think what I do here, yep, bank the Brutal Swing because that could come into play later on against the Giraffe Rig. Eat the Power Whip. So here I make kind of a little bit of a misplay. I should have thrown the Brick Break right away instead of throwing an extra Sucker Punch, but here, they shield the Brick Break. I'm sorry, they let the Brick Break go. They shield this next one. Yep. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to Mud Slap down the Giraffe and hope that I can either land a Shadow Ball or double brutal swing. But we'll see what my opponent wants to do here. They shield that. So this is a little unfortunate. I tried to throw the brutal swing. I thought they were going to throw another bolt seed. Oh, we actually survived that. So what my opponent was trying to do was undercharge that a bit so that they could have a charge move for my Claydol. But fortunately, that worked out. All right, so 3-0. Next up, Mad Cargo into Furret. So I played this one a little interestingly. I didn't want my opponent to know that I have Brick Break right away. So I pivoted to Claydol to try to get some Mud Slaps into their Cargo. At least like right away, at least get some initial chip damage. Because the thing about Claydol is its energy usually goes pretty well. Like with the Rock Tomb and sometimes the Shadow Ball. Either Shadow Ball will do well neutrally, or the Rock Tomb will just... Rock Tomb's such a powerful move that it will just do well. Anyway, so here we have Oranguru into Chestnut. What I'm doing here is trying to get the Trailblaze off, ramp up my Confusions. Do I shield this? I don't remember if I do. Yeah, I do shield it because my Confusions are ramped. All right. So here, I knew I had to throw another Rock Tomb or their Cadilli would have gotten a move. So here, their Mad Cargo is already so low that my fast move pressure is just going to win it for me. And they also don't want Overheat because that would permanently debuff them. So here, I'm just throwing the Swift because I know that's enough. They shield that. And what I do is I throw the Brutal Swing before they can throw their next move. So that's a 4-0. We are currently 4-0 on the win tally. All right. So Furret Mirror. Now the rule of thumb here, and you're going to see this quite a bit, I throw a Brick Break once, and then what I do is, usually what I do is, after the Furret Mirror, I throw the Brick Break, shield once, farm down. Now here, into Blaziken, I could have gone either Claydol or Oranguru into the Blaziken. This is my first time just seeing it. It was just my initial reaction, just to go to Oranguru, get some Confusion damage into it. All right, so opponent comes in 2 cannon. Obviously, hindsight 2020. If I had known this, then I would have gone Claydol into the Blaziken. But here, we're just gonna Confusion this down. My opponent makes a good catch onto their own Ferret. They probably saw that that's what I was going to do. But we're okay here. Because they have a drill peck loaded on 2 cannon. I could either come in Oranguru or come in just Claydol. Because I know that Claydol will be able to survive whatever the 2 cannon throws at me. So Beak Blast, which I do survive, and we get the Rock Tomb off, we are good. That is a 5-0 on the tally. All right, next one. All right, Cadilli. Now, this is especially good with Furret having Brick Break. And I said, you're going to see why I think Brick Break is the way to go in this situation. Unfortunately, my opponent foresees this. They catch it onto Talon. But at least here, I have their defense debuffed a little bit, so my Confusions will do more. This is a little bit of a misplay. I CMP tied them here. I had thought at the time that they were going to throw an extra Incinerate into my Oranguru. So a little bit of a misplay on my part, but you see how we work out of it. So they come in Cadilli, throw the Rock Tomb against my Oranguru. Fortunately, I survive it. So I throw the Trailblaze here. I tried to pivot out to Furret right away, but they had caught that. All right. So here, I'm kind of a precarious spot. I kind of have to hope that my Claydol has a good backline, and it does. So this is actually really ideal that they had a Mad Cargo into my Claydol, because I was already down 2 shields here. But either way, we'll take it. All right. Furret into Gligar again. So I faced a Gligar earlier in the battles. That was a regular Gligar. This is a Shadow one. And this is a little bit different because their charge moves will do a good amount more into my Furret. So what I do here, I think I actually shield the first one. Yep, I shield the first one because I knew that was going to be the dig. All right. So what I'm doing here is I am throwing the Brick Break right away, get their defense down, and then pivot out to Oranguru. Reason I'm doing this, because usually the Licky Lickies will have a Shadow Ball with the Body Slam. So here what I'm doing is get my Confusions, do a little more damage. So they come in a Lickitung, and that's interesting. I haven't seen Lickitung quite a bit. That is a Shadow Gligar, Lickitung, Licky team. All right, so I'm throwing the Brutal Swing here, get as much damage off as I can. So the reason I came in Claydol here, I know that there's a Gligar in the back line, and Claydol has no play into that, really. So I'm just getting some damage, some utilization out of Claydol. It's very huge that I get this Rock Tomb off here, because now these charge moves are going to be less into the Furret. So knowing that, then I can let the Aerial Ace go. Okay, so that's a... Luckily, I do have to shield this, unfortunately. Or should I let it go? Come in Oranguru. I shield this... I shield the next move from Lickitung. And then Confusion twice for the win. So that's 7-0 into the battles. All right, Ufisk. So playing with this one is... I want my opponent to think, obviously, that I have Trailblaze, because most Furret users do run Trailblaze. So what I'm going to do here is bluff the Trailblaze and see what they do. All right. So after they let that go, I store the Swift, hard pivot to Oranguru to try to bait out at least one of the flyers, because usually Ufisk pairs with like a Pharaoh or something like that, or like a Talonflame or other kind of flyers. Anyway, so what I'm doing here, throw a Confusion, throw the Brutal Swing. It'd be ideal to flip switch here because Claydol is very good into Ufisk. But I think I shield this, shield the Acrobatics. Throw another Brutal Swing. This would knock out if they let it go. They actually survived that. Okay, so Talonflame. So this is kind of an interesting spot here. So I did flip switch, which is ideal, because my Ufisk, I get a Departing Brutal. I'm sorry, my Claydol matches up into the Ufisk. So that's very ideal. So I shield this. And I think they come in their Ufisk at some point. I think they shield this and they come in their Ufisk, if I remember correctly. No, yeah, they come in Ufisk now. And I have a full of Claydol to deal with their backline, so we're good here. Yep, we just mudslide down, and opponent sees the writing on the wall, and they top left. All right, next matchup. This is a Abomasnow lead. Shadow Abomasnow, I should say. So this one, I actually get a little bit lucky, and you'll see why in just a second. So here, I let this go. I was kind of hoping that they were going to Weather Ball bait me. I throw the Big Break. They let that go. So here, what I'm doing is waiting out the clock, letting the computer decide who I'm going to match up. I get Claydol into Magcargo, which is perfect. And obviously, you see I got lucky. Claydol being a really dominant matchup into Magcargo. They pivot out. I go to Oranguru against their Swampert. I'm anticipating they're going to shield it. So I throw the Confusion, throw the Trailblaze. So my Confusions would do more damage at this point. I Confusion down. They see the writing on the wall, and they top left that. All right, 9-0. All right, next match. This is Furret into Credilli. I think what I do here is I throw a Brick Break right away. Also want to highlight, I'm battling Riblet. Excellent battler. So this one, I knew this streak was in jeopardy. Riblet, one of the best battlers in Go Battle League. So, but you're going to see, once again, my Brick Break being clutch in this spot against their Credilli. They let that go. I think I shield this and Confusion down. Yep. I think I throw the Trailblaze into Credilli, if I remember correctly. Yep, and I think they let this go. Yep, they let it go, and they put it on the back of Blaziken. I let this go. Come in Furret. Come in Claydol. And we are good. All right, we are 10-0. All right, next match. Toadscruel. One of my favorites. Everyone, if anyone knows me in PvP, I love Toadscruel. So, it's good I see it here. My Claydol wants nothing to do with this Toadscruel here. So, I'm going to let this go. It's a wrap. I throw a Swift. And see what my opponent wants to do here. Okay, so I have alignment here. See what they have in the back line. Pharaoh. It's good. We get a departing Swift here. I come in the Oranguru into their Pharaoh. So here, I shield this. A Drill Peck would probably do a lot of more damage than what their backline does. But I'll let this one go. I don't want to go down 2 shields. All right. All right, so they have a Shadow K9. Once again, this is ideal. They had Toad Scroll and Pharaoh, both very good into my Claydol. But their third Pokemon, Shadow Kanto Ninetales, my Claydol does well into this. So we just Mud Slap it down. And opponent sees the writing a wall, they top left. All right, we are 11-0. All right, next match, this is a Wigglytuff. So Furret's not the worst, but with my backline, I figure it's better to pivot. Because Claydol and Oranguru are both better into Wigglytuff than Furret is, so I just pivot to Claydol. So with my opponent staying in here, okay, so this is a Furret. What I foresee my opponent is doing is they're going to try to Sucker Punch me down. So I pivot back to my own Furret and start ramping up the Sucker Punches. They're already Rock Tomb debuffed, so the Sucker Punches won't do as much. So I throw another Swift. I throw a Swift here. I think I could have thrown one more. But, yeah. Okay. This is ideal because they're in Swift Rage. So see what my opponent wants to do. They shield that. I conserve the Furret. I was foreseeing that they have some sort of normal type in the back, like a Licky Licky or a Lickitung or something weird like that. So that's why I preserved my Furret. All right, get the Trailblaze. I want my Confusions to do more damage. See what my opponent does. Okay, they throw the Body Slam. Throw the Trailblaze. I figure maybe I could have thrown Brutal Swing here, but I wanted Trailblaze just so my Confusions do more damage. I was trying to click Furret to catch the move, but didn't work. Coming Claydol. I'm going to Mud Slap down. I do shield this. I have to. I'm very low in health. I catch them. Come back on my own Furret. And they have a 1 hit point of life left. And come in. Opponent sees the right on the wall. They top left. All right. Next battle. This is Furret into Pharaoh. This is pretty neutral. But Claydol avoids this, which is good. So the one thing I don't want them to do is catch a Swift on anything else other than Pharaoh, because that would make the Pharaoh a lot harder to deal with. So I'm going to shield this. Hopefully I get a departing Swift into them, which I do. They shield this. Now this is huge, actually, that I get a departing Swift into them. It's huge because, one, it knocks out. Also, my Furret is very highly ranked. So having the highly ranked Furret comes in clutch there. I didn't see that. It was probably a Swampert in the back there for them to top left like that. All right, next battle. This is Furret into Miltank. All right, here. This is good. It's going to be good with Brick Break once again. So here, they're going to throw Body Slams. I let this one go. I throw another. I throw a Swift into their Miltank, see what they want to do. They let this go. All right, so they're coming Quagsire. Once again, this is a situation where my Claydol hates this, so I'm going to come in Oranguru. And I don't know what they have in the back line yet, but I'm going to shield this and just foresee for them to stay in a little bit that they probably don't like Oranguru in the back. But anyway, so here, the reason I threw the Trailblaze, I knew my opponent was going to shield that move. So I want my Confusions to do at least a little more damage. So this is kind of an awkward spot. I had to come in Claydol right away because, and this is kind of a weird spot. So I had to come in Claydol because they would have been able to get a lot of farm into my, their Toucan would be able to get a lot of farm into my Claydol. All right, next battle, Furret into Kwak. Once again, this is a situation like earlier. I'm going to bluff the Trailblaze. and see what they do. I think they shield this. If I remember correctly, they double shield it. So I actually didn't have enough for a potential Trailblaze yet, but I didn't want my opponent to throw a Bone Club into me, so that's why I threw then. But either way, I let it go. My opponent is down 2 shields. I come in Oranguru, start throwing some confusions. I think what I do is let this go. I come in Claydol. And my opponent has no more shields. So I know for them to come in something like this isn't really that hard of an answer to Claydol. Like Giraffe Rig knows Trailblaze, which would do super effective into Claydol. But at least here, I think, yep, my opponent tops left. They see the writing on the wall. All right. Furret into Mamoswine. So this is a little interesting. Yes, I have the Brick Break, which does effective damage into Mamoswine. But Mamoswine wins CMP tie here. And the Icicle Spears would do a ton of damage. And they're going to outpace me. So I figured I might as well just debuff them and 2 shield and just go for fast move pressure to keep alignment. All right, so for this one here, I throw a Swift. Now you're going to see that with the... So the opponent knows I don't have Trailblaze. I come in Oranguru. Opponent throws a Water Pulse. I'm going to throw the Brutal Swing here. Chip and Dip Drampa, and then swap to Claydol. And Gastro's pretty low at this point, so we're fine. So we can just Mud Slap the Drampa down. Throw the Rock Tomb right away. They see the writing on the wall, and I believe they let it go. Yep, they let it go. All right, we are 16-0. 16-0 already. It's already a long run. All right, Furret into Drampa. This is, once again, Brick Break being really clutch. Saving grace here, because I believe they let this go, not knowing. Yep. So that is huge, because, once again, Brick Break coming really in clutch. All right, here, I throw the Brick Break into their Furret. So in this scenario, if Furret would have shielded that Brick Break, I would have been in a lot of trouble, actually, because I would have a really hard time getting rid of this Furret with my backline. But we're good here. We throw another Brick Break. They let that one go. And see what they do. Clodsire. This is perfect because we are... My backline loves Clodsire. Both Claydol and Oranguru very good into it. Good. All right, we are up to 17-0 on this team. 17-0. All right, Furret. Same strategy. I'm going to Brick Break. And then 1 shield farm them down. And what I also realized, my opponent has Brick Break as well. I'm going to go, even though they have Brick Break, I'm just going to go with that same strategy. I have a really high-ranked Furret, but they try and catch on Credilli. So they probably thought I was going to throw Swift, and that's why they tried catching it there. But either way. Okay, so they rock to me here. I'm going to throw Trailblaze because I want my Confusions to do more damage. But they actually survived that next Confusion regardless. So that was actually a little unfortunate. But see what my opponent does here. All right. So they come in Quag. I was anticipating either 1, they were going to catch it, or 2, they were going to shield it anyway. So I actually store the Trailblaze and start doing some pressure into this Quag. I knew they weren't going to shield that Shadow Ball because they knew I have a Trailblaze loaded on Oranguru. So what I do here, I know they get the Aqua Tail off. They get their Swift off on Furret. I believe I come in my own Furret after this, and then fast move down for the win. All right, 18-0. All right. I actually battled this is Habibi EX. He also streams as well. I battled him earlier. I remember the team. If the same team, it's Blaziken and Toucannon in the back. So they have Brick Break as well. I'm going to Brick Break them. So knowing that they had Toucannon in the back, last time I went in Oranguru to their Blaziken, but this time I come in Claydol, get the Mud Slaps, and build up energy. Well, actually, I let that go. I could have shielded that farm down, but I figured what I wanted to do, the one thing I didn't want to do was give that Furret any farm into me. So what I'm doing here, I'm just going to put it all in the back of my back of my Oranguru to confusion fast move for the win. So here, I get a little fortunate. I got a free confusion off into their 2-cannon onto the timing of when they threw. So here, what I'm doing here, just relying on my confusion fast move pressure from Oranguru for the win. I know I survived that. We're up to 19-0. How about that? 19-0 with this team. All right. Can we go 20-0? Spoiler, we don't. But, all right, match 20. Quagsire. So here, my opponent makes a catch because they don't know that on a Trailblaze. They catch a Swift on their Furret. So this threw me a bit off guard here. So what I do here is I brick break the Furret, and I was hoping that I could. So they have brick break as well. I didn't know that, and that took me a bit off guard. I was hoping I could have just sucker punched them down after my own brick break. Either way, I let the computer decide. Unfortunately, it's not my favorite. It comes in my Claydol into their Shadow Quagsire. So here, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to Trailblaze the Credilli. Need my confusions to start doing more damage. I need to shield this. So I know at this point it's going to be close. I knew it's going to come down to some degree of fast move pressure. So I threw the confusion in. I let this go. And what I have to do here, I didn't want to shield that because I know Quagsire is going to get to an Aqua Tail. So I shield this one. I'm going to Rock Tomb the Quagsire, so the next Aqua Tail won't do as much damage, and I can survive it. What I'm hoping here is that I can just fast move down for the win. Now, I make a little bit, it's kind of a questionable move what I do next. So I could have thrown the Rock Tomb here, and I don't. Oh, the streak is over. Oh, it ends. So, yeah, so the streak ended there. It was a 19-0 run before we finally lost that battle. So the thing is, let's actually rewind to that specific spot in the battle. So we were here, and so I'm going to shield the first Aqua Tail from Quagsire, throw the Rock Tomb because the second one would do less damage. So I know I'm going to have to eat the Aqua Tail. So I know I survive it, though, especially after the Rock Tomb debuff. So I might slap Quag down for the win. Now, I'm hoping here that, given I resist the acids from Credilli and the Mud Slaps are neutral, that I could just fast move down for the win. Now, I had the Rock Tomb loaded, so I could have thrown the Rock Tomb here. It was kind of just like a heat of the moment type thing where I was just in the mindset, just Mud Slap down for the win. I mean, I could have thrown it and the acids would have done less damage. And I mean, it's questionable if it would have been enough. Like, you can see their Credilli had like a hit point or two of life left. So I could have won the battle there, or at least I don't know if I could have. It's questionable, remains to be seen, but at the end of the day, we went on a 19-0 run with this team that I wasn't expecting this to do that well. As I'm kind of just trying to have fun this season. You know, there's no true legend, there's no true ELO climbing, there's no leaderboards. But after using this team, I realized that it was very usable. So if I was to climb, or if I did want to get some wins, you know, climb hit legend, climb leaderboards, all that, this would be a team that I would use. So highly recommended. Thanks for watching, everybody. Till next time.